wanted to do something a little bit different for this week's deep dive. Those of you who have seen my dives know that normally what I will do is take some kind of relationship or family phenomenon, wrap it up into a little bit of psychology, hopefully teach a couple of lessons along the way so we're all better people for it. I want to break away from that just a little bit because this has actually been on my mind for a little while. I want to talk about the 5 things that I got right after a devastating divorce. But I really kind of want to get out of my place to do that. So let's go for a walk. Let's get some fresh air.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. I'm inspired by thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts. Something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad, hit the gym, hit the black. The gas in the
There. This looks like a decent spot. Let's get some fresh air. So, I did want to make this this dive more personal for a lot of people, maybe a little bit less abstract. And I do want to give some information sometimes on this channel about struggling through divorce, because so many of us go through it with very few, if any, resources at all. So let me just dive into this first one. First thing that I did absolutely right after devastating divorce. And for a little context, I was in my early 30s, had 3 very young daughters. I think they were ages like 2, 4, and 7. Married for 11 years. Very active in our church. In fact, owned a Christian bookstore at the time. Very small northern Illinois town. None of our parents had gone to college. We were not expected to. So in that kind of a town and upbringing, you know, it's the classic finish high school, find a job that you can tolerate, and, you know, let everything play out there in those kind of small town abstract type ways, you know. And so after 11 years and 3 young daughters, she had become unhappy. I won't get into all of the details, at least not today. But it took her a while. I had some suspicions, and it finally came out that she had had multiple affairs, and in fact had later told me that she did that so that I would leave her. So again, you know, being in that small town, I did not have a solid career. I had an associate. She had no education, no college education. She had been working at a bank as some kind of customer support teller type position for a few years. I had struggled with work. Later found out that it was because I was just so depressed being in that small town. It was very hard for me to find work that was meaningful to me. I mean, you could do things like one of the things I did is a supervisor at a telemarketing company. You could be a manager at a McDonald's or a Walmart, maybe sell some insurance, or work at the cell phone shop. Maybe start yourself a little muffler business, something like that. But not a lot of opportunities there in that small town, and not a lot of instruction or motivation from our family, you know, to do anything other than just that. So when it all came down, I was absolutely devastated. And for a little while, I did try to go to therapy, to counseling, and the woman was very good. She was very empathetic. I did like her style, but after a couple of months of separation, I think it was, I could not afford the sessions. You know, I was losing my ability to pay with insurance and everything, and because our meetings were happening less frequently with this counselor, with this therapist. And there was a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. She recommended that I start making some notes and writing a few things down between our sessions. And I will say that that's maybe the best advice that I have ever gotten. And her recommendation turned into this. Each of these 5 composition notebooks turned into my lifeblood for almost 2.5 years. For those 2.5 years, I journaled everything. I counted them up. I think at one point it was about 900 handwritten pages. And I seriously think that it changed my life, saved my life. Because what I would do is I would carry whichever one I was currently working on, or whichever, my most current notebook, I would carry it with me everywhere. I had gone back to school to work on my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree. I took it with me to every class. It was in my backpack at all times. When I would go to work, I would be writing on my lunch break, on the coffee breaks, in the middle of the shift. I would take it to coffee shops and just sit down for anywhere from 20 minutes to 2.5 hours and write as much as I could. And one of the things that I really like about it is that it became my therapy. It was free, it was immediate, and it was on demand. And like many guys, I don't think I'm really an exception in saying that, I especially after when the separation started, didn't really have a lot of friends. We were active in our church, but those relationships kind of failed very quickly, as some of you can imagine. I'll save that story for another day. But because I went to school, or returned to school, now going through the divorce, and losing what friends I had in that small town, not really making any new friends. They were much younger than I was in my classes and at the university. I had a lot of time alone, and I spent that time alone writing. Sometimes it was, several days in a row. Sometimes, I'd miss a day here and there. But honestly, just the freedom just to get everything out. I didn't need answers. I didn't need anyone to tell me, okay, well, this is what you're doing, and maybe work through this and everything else. I had the immediate reflection of writing down my very candid, very honest thoughts. And after a while, one of the unexpected benefits was I could flip through, after a year or two of writing, I could flip through and kind of see and read some of my literal words from previous months, like I said, 1.5 years prior, and do some reflection on that. And one of the greatest benefits of that, I think, was that it really gave me an indication of progress that I was making, that I couldn't see day to day, right? It's like seeing the forest through the trees. Going back to school, finishing this class, writing that paper, just making, strides and strides emotionally and in education, and just different experiences in life. I could go back and I could see my progression. I could see that gave me a lot of confidence to do that. And I would recommend, if any of you are going through a separation, a divorce, you don't know what's coming next, you're finding it difficult to talk to people that maybe you do see on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe it's a bowling team or whatever the case might be. Maybe you watch college football with your buddies, down at the pub, something like that. But if you're ever in a situation in which you feel like you just need to get stuff out, I highly, highly recommend pick yourself up some type of a notebook, carry it around with you, and just start writing. Find a park like this one. Find a coffee shop you could just put on some headphones and listen to some Def Leppard or Billy Joel. Whoever it might be. But yeah, that sense of progress that I would get when I would go back and read through my past entries was phenomenal. And don't let anybody tell you that that it's not masculine to journal or to write your thoughts out. In fact, I think the exact opposite. Sitting with it, not knowing what to do, not having that reflection. Because listen, man, you're going to have so many emotions going through, and you're so many decisions to make, and just having it down in your own handwriting, in print, you can go back and say, oh yeah, that's right, I totally forgot that I was struggling with this at one point, and this is the lesson that I learned from it. Because you're going to go through all of this stuff, if you're anything like me, and because things change so quickly, you're going to lose track of what you've actually done, what you were thinking. Life just moves so fast with or without you. So that's one of the biggest things, I think the main biggest thing that I did right after a devastating divorce. So I would recommend it for anyone. Like I said, just in fact, we'll get to this later on in this deep dive, but all of this 900 handwritten pages over almost 2.5 years is this. It became this. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Like I said, I think maybe in part 5 of this deep dive, but I hope this resonates with some of you. With the custody and divorce and everything, there's just so much. It's so broad. I wish I could cover it all in one video or a 5-part dive. The videos that are all 8 to 14 minutes long. Which is typically what I do. But if I could just at least get some guys thinking, having conversations, because honestly, I don't think that there can be too many conversations or videos about guys talking about their experience with divorce and custody. I don't think that we could have too many of those sources online. I think that more guys need to be doing it so that we can hear each other's stories, so that we could grow together, we can teach each other. Guys know what to expect when they're blindsided by divorce or infidelity. So I hope that this change in dive topics resonates with some of you. Please do let me know in the comments. I'm very, very curious to see if topics like this are impactful, meaningful for guys, because I do want to do some more along this topic. It's a passion of mine, and so yeah, let me know what you think. If you are going through something, stay strong, and I'll be back real soon.